Good morning, Jorgen. I will be right with you, my friend. Good morning, Brian. How are you? Good morning, good morning, good morning. What is going on, my friends? Happy Tuesday. I am still trying to get sorted out with all of my new technology, so bear with me. Bear with me. I think this is doing what I want it to, but I'm never quite sure. So I've got you over here on my phone. I've got you up here on my monitor. I've got you in 5 different places. My hope is that we are, in fact, streaming to LinkedIn, Facebook, and mikecameron.ca/live. So if you haven't been over to the website, I would absolutely love it. Mitch is over on the website. Good morning, Mitch, because you can actually chat with me directly on the website. So that is kind of the cool thing. All right. Welcome to Men Up with Mike. My name is Mike Cameron, and I will be your host. This is a show where we talk all things leadership, personal development, and really just becoming the best version of yourself. And we do it all through the lens of what it means to be a man and some of the unique challenges that come in this world being a dude. And I know, before you start shouting, come on, you dudes got everything. That privilege comes with a price. That privilege comes with a price. There is no doubt. So we do need to take a little bit of extra care and just acknowledge some of those things that come with that. It is so good to see you guys here. It looks like we are streaming well and live. And Mitch, I really appreciate you being on the site. That is fantastic. Good morning, Brenda. Brenda is on the website as well, too. So I can chat with you guys in a little more, I think, closer to real time. There's a little bit of a lag. But I will do my best. To continue to have these conversations with you. Good morning, Darlene. And my coffee's a little bit hot today, so I am just going to take my time and sip. And today we are going to talk a little bit about why we should embrace vulnerability. And I'm going to throw that image up again. Avert your gaze if this is too much for you. Vulnerability is the new strength. This one was a little out of my comfort zone. Michelle and I were down in Canmore on the weekend. Actually, we went down last Wednesday. She had some holiday time. And we went out and did a photo shoot. I thought it would be kind of fun. On, I think it was Friday or Saturday was World Mental Health Day. So we thought, you know what, my friend Alan had posted vulnerability is the new strength, and I thought, you know what, let's up that ante a little bit. Let's get a little bit more vulnerable, and let's go down and do a bit of a naked photo shoot down by the creek. So we did that, and fortunately, no hikers were traumatized in the making of that photo. So again, bear with me. I'm going to move some things around today. And again, trying to watch you over here. And I've got a few notes that I want to go over today. So why should we embrace vulnerability? And especially as guys, you know, I did a podcast interview the other day where the interviewer asked me, like, doesn't that scare the shit out of you? Exposing yourself, becoming vulnerable. That is, by definition, the most vulnerable place you can be. It's a risky place to be. So she said, how does that not scare the shit out of you? And the reality is, it does. It does scare the shit out of me, but I do it anyways. And for us guys, vulnerability can be incredibly scary, but what takes courage is being able to embrace that and dive into that. So the question becomes, well, why the fuck would we want to do that? Why would we bother doing that when I can be safe and cozy at home? Hey, good morning, Michelle, over on the website. Good to see you there. When I can be safe and cozy at home, why would I ever want to practice vulnerability? Why would I want to do that? The perception is that vulnerability is weakness. And that is just not true. So I'm going to quote a little bit of Brene Brown here because I've been looking for excellent ways to sort of summarize and identify the definition of vulnerability, what vulnerability is, but I just could not come up with anything better, believe it or not, than Brene Brown. She is a vulnerability researcher and expert that has been doing this stuff for years and years and years. And this is really somewhat new to me. I mean, in the last 5 or 6 years, really. But she has been doing this for all of her adult career. So I thought rather than try and reinvent the wheel, rather than try and come up with my own version, my own definition, let's just stick to the experts. Because again, Brene nails this really, really well. So one of the things that really struck me, one of the first things that struck me about Brene's work is she talks about vulnerability is the core of all emotions. And if you've heard me talk before, you know that I believe that emotions are the fuel of life. They're the things that set us on fire. They are the things that make life worth meaning. They're the things, the feelings, the emotions that give us purpose. So if we believe that and accept that, and if we accept the fact that vulnerability is the core of all emotions, then it makes sense that to really find the most in ourselves, to get the most out of life, is that we really need to embrace vulnerability. You know, I was talking to, well, I talked to so many people who want to find purpose, want to find meaning. But you can't really do that until you tap into that vulnerable, most authentic part of yourself. Good morning, Anthony. Good morning, Maureen. Good morning, Celeste. Great to see you guys here on Facebook. I would also love it if you would pop over to mikecameron.ca/live and join me there. I will try and watch the chat box. If you guys want to drop a note in the chat on mikecameron.ca/live, I will do my best to answer those. So again, when we talk about vulnerability as the core of all emotions and feelings, to feel is to be vulnerable. This is Brene's work. I'm quoting her, and I believe this is directly out of Daring Greatly. It was one of the books that I really enjoyed of hers. If you haven't read it, it is worth reading. I know Michelle's in the middle of reading it right now. Vulnerability isn't good or bad. It's not what we call a dark emotion, nor is it always a light, positive experience. Vulnerability is the core of all emotions and feelings. To feel is to be vulnerable. To believe vulnerability is weakness is to believe that feeling is weakness. To foreclose on our emotional life out of fear that the cost will be too high is to walk away from the very thing that gives purpose and meaning to living. So exactly, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Like I said, she just says this so much better than I can. Our rejection of vulnerability often stems from our associating it with dark emotions like fear, shame, grief, sadness, and disappointment. Emotions that we don't want to discuss, even when they profoundly affect the way we live, love, work, and even lead. What most of us fail to understand, and what took me a decade of research to learn, is that vulnerability is also the cradle of the emotions and experiences that we crave. We want deeper and more meaningful spiritual lives. Vulnerability, and here it is, vulnerability is the birthplace of love, belonging, joy, courage, and creativity. It is the source of hope, empathy, accountability, and authenticity. If we want greater clarity in our purpose or deeper or more meaningful spiritual lives, vulnerability is the path. Vulnerability is the path. Again, this stuff is so, it's so simple, but it's not easy. So when we talk about why would we want to embrace vulnerability, why would we want to expose ourselves, why would we want to open ourselves up for the world to see and potentially risk being ridiculed, mocked, you name it. You name it. Why would we want to do that? Because vulnerability, where is it here? I'm going to go back and quote this. Vulnerability is the birthplace of love, belonging, joy, courage, and creativity. It is the source of hope, empathy, accountability, and authenticity. If we want greater clarity in our purpose or deeper meaningful spiritual lives, vulnerability is the path. And this is so crucial. This took me forever to figure out. As a guy especially, us men, we want to put up these masks. We want to wear this armor so that we're not vulnerable. We're strong. We're tough. We've got this armor wrapped around us 360 degrees all the way around. We are wrapped up. We are protected. We are covered. We are the exact opposite of vulnerable. And the problem is, when we do these things, when we wrap ourselves in this armor, when we cloak ourselves from shame, guilt, vulnerability, we also, not only do we mute those negative emotions, those emotions that are less comfortable, those feelings that we maybe don't want to feel, not only do we mute those, but we mute those feelings that we crave, those emotions that we crave, as Brene sounds, love, joy, belonging, and a sense of purpose. So if you guys have heard me talk before, I like to talk a lot about getting to the root cause rather than addressing the symptoms. And so often for us, especially in a leadership position, and especially guys, we don't want to address the root cause. If we want to change behavior in our team, our staff, our employees, vulnerability is the path. Believe it or not. Believe it or not. It is the path. When we lead, it's about inspiring that shared vision. And how do we do that? We don't do that with more knowledge. We don't do that with 17 PhDs in whatever our field is. What do you think is more productive? Who do you think is more productive? Hey, good morning, Justin. Who do you think is more productive? The knowledgeable person or the inspired person? So let's shift our focus from knowing to being, to feeling. And you will see a shift. Again, coming at this from a leadership perspective, I think we often hear these kinds of messages and we think airy fairy woo woo. It's all about getting in touch with our feelings so that we can feel good. But in fact, this is the core of productivity. You want to fucking do more? You want to produce more? You want to achieve more? This is where it needs to start. So often I see people who are hungry, eager, excited, that want to go out and change the fucking world. But they haven't figured this piece out yet. And until you figure this piece out, and again, it's not an intellectual figuring out, it's a practice. It's an ongoing practice. And once you get to the place where you can live vulnerably, where you can lead with vulnerability, that's when you can inspire others to make change in their own lives. I saw this firsthand when I was very public with my grief, when I shared very much what I was going through in a real and authentic way, in real time. I mean, that's the beauty of social media these days. Knock it all you want, but the beauty is we get to share our experiences in real time. Sometimes that's good, sometimes that's not so good. Use that power for good, not for evil. So, my friend, my challenge for you today is to find a place in your life, find a place in your day where you can embrace that vulnerability just a little bit more. And as leaders, sometimes that's even just saying, I don't know. I don't know. What a powerful response that is. Hey, Mike, how do I X, Y, and Z? I don't know. And oftentimes we feel as thought leaders, as experts in whatever our field is, that we need to have all the answers. But the reality is not everybody, not everybody, nobody has all the answers. So really, it's about having the courage to take the time and sometimes just be able to say, I don't know. I don't know. And that's okay. So drop me a note. Let me know, where do you run into vulnerability in your life? What do you do with it? Do you bury it, suppress it, avoid it? Do you wrap yourself in that armor? Do you wrap yourself in that cloak? Or do you embrace it? And what happens when you embrace it? You will find that good things start to happen. Yeah, there's some risk. And frankly, people have to earn your trust. They have to earn the right to see the vulnerable you, to see the real you. This doesn't mean you run around crying and complaining about everything that is challenging you in the moment. But for men especially, it means that you have the courage to ask for help when you need it. And that's not an easy thing to do. That's not an easy thing to do at all. So with my coaching clients, this is one of the first things we tackle. Again, if we want to get to finding our purpose, to making greater meaning in our life, this is where it has to start. Vulnerability is the core of all emotions. Emotions are the fuel of life. If we want more fuel in the tank, vulnerability is the path. I've talked about this a lot. We make decisions based on emotion. If we don't understand the underlying emotions that drive those decisions that we make, we have zero opportunity to live a purposeful existence. We have zero opportunity to find meaning in our life. Vulnerability is the path. And that can be hard. All right, my friends. Oh, tomorrow. Join me tomorrow where I am going to have Sheila from Cornerstone Counseling on. And Sheila is going to talk, we're going to talk about Down with Man Up. Down with Man Up. It's a contest they are putting on. Deadline is November 15th. And we're going to talk a little bit about Down with Man Up and share what that contest is and how you can get involved. I will hope you will be here tomorrow morning at 8:30, mikecameron.ca/live, or Facebook, YouTube, all of the other places. But I really would love to see you on mikecameron.ca/live. All right, my friend, as always, continue to make beautiful shit happen. Have yourself a fantastic day. And let's see if we can get some outro music figured out here. Ba, ba, ba,